indeed.
Yeah.
On November 2nd, happy Halloween. What did you get up to anything fun?
No.
Yeah.
No, to me, it's just another day. I used to love the candy collection, the harvesting. That was basically like kind of like my currency back in the day.
I feel you.
How much can I harvest in one day and then take a huge picture of it, all of it scattered on the floor? You know what? That was probably one of the most satisfying parts. It wasn't actually the collecting of the candy. It was being able to then afterwards put it on the living room floor and look at the bounty. Be like, wow, that is a massive collection.
The bounty. So
It's
good.
exciting. And
Yeah.
you'd always get your picture of it. It's like, oh wow, the harvest is ripe.
What about costume wise? What was a costume you remember dressing up as a kid? Or even an adult?
There was Han Solo. There's also Indiana Jones.
Nice.
As you can see,
Harrison
Harrison
Ford.
Ford
I was about to say.
played a big role in my life back in the day.
Well, you are quite the
Um,
adventure.
there's an Alien one time, and that one was rather unfortunate because I ate cooked broccoli before going into the alien mask,
Oh my.
and that resulted in some really nasty rancid burps.
Yeah.
So that wasn't great. That wasn't awesome, but it was just a little bit more resistance, and I gained more understanding of why not to wear a mask while trick or treating, and I
Yes.
never did it again.
That's fair.
So it was a very insightful experience, and it helped me gain that much more good times in the future by implementing that particular understanding.
Broccoli. What can't you do?
Mm. Yeah, it's a
Um,
great teacher.
I remember my mom helped me make a headless man costume one time. And so I was walking around and it looked like my head was being held by a hand because
Mm.
she took construction paper and cut out a hole and made like a tube, right? Put it over top of me, cut it a hole so I could stick my head through. We got an extra large shirt to button up to here so it looks like it's the neck. And with the sleeve, she stuffed it with newspaper or something and put it like this underneath so it looked like I was walking around holding my head. You want to talk about uncomfortable?
Ah.
Walk around with construction paper going like this against your chin for
Mm.
hours on end.
Wow.
Yeah, that's no fun. The costume looked great, but the pain was real.
Oh, yes.
And I remember dressing up as the mask as a kid. My mom likes to tell this story because I was 5 years old. Everyone's dressed up as like pirates and ghosts and princesses and whatever. And then there I am as Jim Carrey's The Mask. And the parents were walking up to my mom going, "What is he supposed to be?" And I'm the only one in my age who like was allowed to watch this movie that is marketed for kids but was not a kids movie, you know?
No. Yeah, it's
uh,
cartoony in a way, but the
it is.
humor is definitely adult.
It is. Well, the original comic is exceptionally violent.
Oh,
It's
right.
yeah,
Remember you saying that.
yeah. It's nothing like even the Jim Carrey movie. But even it's what's interesting as an adult rewatching the Jim Carrey movie. There's a lot of innuendo and there's a lot of like graphic nature, but like you just stated, it's very cartoony. But it's
Mm.
still it's violent. It's graphic, and it's dark. It's a dark tone.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, but still very good. And I remember dressing up as
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger in college. I did the makeup myself and put on all the burn marks and stuff. That was fun.
Mm.
Yeah, that was a good costume.
So, what was the most enticing thing about Halloween when you were a kid? Like, what did you love about it?
Oh, I loved the vibe. I just loved the energy of it. Everyone was just because everyone's happy on Halloween. Everyone's having fun. Everyone gets to dress up and be something else. They get to escape their lives for a couple hours and be the princess or the dragon, the fantastical beast, like whatever they want to be, and it's fun. It's fun. And also of course like as a kid, like yeah, there's the candy aspect, but it's funny when I look back on Halloween, I don't think, oh, the candy. I look back and I think, oh man, I loved being able to walk up to people's doors and everyone's like friendly, like, oh, here's your candy, you look so good, and just like everyone had that mentality of like, this is fun.
Goodness all around.
Yeah, it just was a mentality of this is fun. What's interesting now that I'm older and I don't participate with it near as much, it does have a bit of a different feel. But maybe that's just growing up as well, right? Just being an adult, you're just not as yeah. I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, but
That
still
makes
fun.
sense. Yeah, I mean, I mean, who doesn't have a good time when everyone's having a good time?
Exactly. Like, yeah, and
I mean,
I
it's a
think another thing
pretty
too, it's marketed to kids as well, very heavily. Like it's a kid thing. You take your kids out trick or treating, right? As adults, we dress up and we go partying or something. And I had the opportunity to go to a party, but I wasn't in I was not mentally well enough to go that day. So I just was like, I don't feel like driving 40 minutes to a party just to stay for an hour to drive 40 minutes back, you know? So I wasn't in the mood.
mm-hmm.
But then I see stuff like my sister and my nephew, and they're just big smiles. They're in their costume, and that makes me go, and there it is. That's where I think that's what's missing is very much so. It's just like that. It's like there's such a family aspect to it as well. Yeah,
Hmm. That makes for some golden memories.
it does. Very golden memories. Good times. What's a golden memory of yours from school, from grade school? Like that one memory from before high school where you're like, yes, that was like at the time it was like that was peak Lars life.
Stephanie MacArthur.
Dish
She's the
dish.
first one that came to mind. But actually, it's really hard to say which one is the most golden, but I'll start with Stephanie MacArthur simply because she was first that came to mind from your question. So
Sure.
I'm in grade 4, and I'm sitting beside who I think is the most beautiful girl in the class.
Ooh.
Absolute smoke show. And so I'm thinking to myself, I got to make myself stand out here. How can I do that? I need to let myself be known on her radar. Do I just say hi? Do I just introduce myself? I mean, what do you do in this scenario? And then I saw my opportunity. She dropped her crayon case. All of her pencil crayons fell all over the floor, and I jumped on the opportunity to make an impression. How did I do that? I pretended to be a frog. And I tried to pick up all of those pencil crayons. I started ribbiting. I started jumping all over the place, smiling and picking up her pencil crayons just so I could be on her radar. It didn't work well. She smiled.
I can't believe
But
the frog tactic didn't work.
yeah, I mean, we didn't get married the next week, that's for sure. We
Oh
didn't even go to
man.
the dance.
Yeah.
It was very sad, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't go anywhere. But you know what? It made for a great memory. And there was a great gain in understanding of what not to do when trying to impress the female kind. Don't act like a frog.
Don't act like a frog. You know,
Don't do it.
this is the thing though. Statistically, there has to be an opportunity where it works.
Mm,
It can't be 100% will never work. There's got to be an opportunity where being the frog works. When is it? I don't know.
yeah.
I don't think we're ever going to know, but somewhere in time, there's a girl going, did he just rip it?
Yeah. Yeah, the
Oh,
other one that I'm thinking of is Claire Negrin. Now, this is grade 5 now, moving up a little bit. And we were in pirate class where we join all of our tables together and we make one giant ship where she's now on my ship. And I'm thinking, oh, this is great. Okay, now I gotta pick my moment here. So let's not act like any animal whatsoever. Let's take a different approach. And, ooh, okay, how about treasure? I could give her my treasure. What do I treasure the most? My semi precious gems. I have a rock collection. So I go home and I find like this little white pouch. It looks like a miniature wallet, basically. And I take all of my favorite little gems. One was an orange something, one was like a cubic zirconia, one was an amethyst. And I put them in there. I'm like, okay, she's going to love these. I'm going to ask her to the dance.
ooh.
This is going to work. So I take it to school that day. I give her the pouch and I say, hey, Claire, will you go to the dance with me? She said, maybe. I took
Aw,
that maybe as a yes.
of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was very excited. I was very elated. This is young love, puppy love. They write 60 songs about this thing. And for good reason. It feels good. It feels like this like incredible fountain of hope just like bursting from the inside of like anything is possible and the future is so bright and oh, think of like how incredible all the adventures are going to be. The imagination goes crazy.
Indeed.
She did not go to the dance with me. And she kept the pouch.
Ooh. I
She
wonder
didn't even
if
give the rocks back. And you know what else?
Hmm.
I cried every night for 2 months straight over the summer holidays of heartbreak. Because
Oh.
in my mind, I had an expectation that was unmet. I thought, it's on. My dreams are coming true. I am now going to experience the wonders of romantic love that Disney has been showing me my entire life. It's going to be grand. Belle's going to be my wife. Because I deserve the best.
Coming from a place of
Yeah.
Gaston, are you?
Yeah. And guess what else? Claire got in contact with me a year ago, and she sent me that white pouch.
No way.
She still had it, but she lost the gems. It was empty.
Interesting that the pouch is somehow maintained, but the gems are gone.
Yeah. So I
Oh.
told her if I ever ask someone to marry me, I'll use the pouch because
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
that's nice. There you go. Here, get in the pouch. I want you to be my wife.
But I think the moral of the story here is there's a common denominator, and my most memorable moments in school was always the promise that I'm about to experience romantic love.
Hmm.
I'm about to experience what that feels like, that excitement, the hope, because I saw Beauty and the Beast,
Yeah.
I saw Aladdin, I saw Little Mermaid. That looked like really good times, and I could feel something on the inside. Krista Benham. I invited her over one time. This is like grade one or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I really love that song. Can You Feel the Love Tonight? In The Lion King.
Oh yes, yes.
I felt like it was the most like romantic, beautiful melody of all time. And I'm like, if her and I can just watch that together, she'll fall in love with me. We just got to see it together. And so we're watching the movie, and she's like, I'm bored. Let's do something else. I'm like, but the part's just coming up. No, no, no. Let's just watch a little bit longer. She's like, no, I don't want to. Let's do something else. I'm like, fine. And I start storming out. Once again, unmet expectation again. So now all of that hopeful anticipation of what could be is now transforming into a distorted anger and resentment of disappointment. And so what do? I find my Ghostbuster noodle, which is basically a miniature pool noodle, and I start going to town and taking out my frustration on that thing. I start biting it. One big mouthful, spit it out. And now I'm expressing my dismay in the situation. And why? Once
Because of
again,
Disney. Disney
well,
put these expectations in our
Disney
head.
played a role, but I bought into it.
We all
I
did.
bought into that.
We
I
all
bought into
did.
the projection.
Yeah.
And then I set myself up with an expectation. Once that is unmet, disaster strikes.
You know what's interesting is how we have those movies force fed to us and willingly because they're enjoyable. The originals, like that we grew up on, classic. They're so good. But our parents would watch them with us. And not one parent that I know of ever looked at us and said, remember, this is just fantasy. This isn't real life. This isn't how the world works. There was no come back down to reality. Because in a lot of ways, in the sense of mass media, especially through the Disney Corporation, we were a test subject generation. We had so much endless media thrown at us, and I don't know about you, I had a lot of, I don't want to say necessarily restrictions, but I'll use that word just for brevity. I had a lot of restrictions on me. I couldn't watch The Simpsons. I couldn't watch South Park. I couldn't watch. It's funny. I couldn't watch so many animated adult content type stuff, right? But then I could watch horror movies.
Mm.
I couldn't watch like certain dramas because it might have nudity or it might have um, like a excessive violence or something or just adult themes. But then I was allowed to watch like zombies ripping people apart. It's and like again, I couldn't watch The Simpsons. Yet when it was on, I could watch Family Guy.
Hmm.
And what's fascinating about all that is I don't think I would have been harmed by watching The Simpsons or watching South Park because I ended up watching it later in my life anyway. And likewise, I don't think watching horror movies has harmed me in any way. But of all the things that have actually kind of twisted me a little bit is Disney movies because I always felt like it's like the fairy tale happy ending exists. That is just what it will be. There is the one person for everyone. We'll always get that. And for the longest time, oh, I treated every new relationship like that. And us just having this conversation, I'm not saying it's all on Disney, of course, but it's interesting hearing you say your stories, how much I can relate to that. Or
Hmm.
because one thing that I find quite hilarious about your stories thus far is you keep saying, so it was that's the time in Aladdin. It was that song in The Lion King. It was, and it's just like interesting. When you're young, you remember young love, but you correlate it with Disney, and I feel that. I feel
Hmm.
that greatly because it's there's so many times where I'm thinking, but I was a little different. I wasn't always thinking because like I was nervous Nelly when as a kid, like when it came to girls. I just yeah. Had an older sister, so like you think it would be easier, but no. I found them hard to approach. I'd have crushes. I found out sometimes they had crushes on me later in life, and it's just like if only I made the move. Like, and it's
Should have
funny.
done the frog.
I should have done the I was the 1%. No. Apparently, I was a curmudgeon as a kid. I was the one that people would be playing, and I'd grab the ball and run away and be like, "Chase me!" And they're like, "That's not what we're playing." But I'd be like, we are now. Yeah. See, that was my Aladdin experience. One jump, head of the breadline. uh, yeah, too funny. But and what's interesting too is a lot of media today with within Disney, they're pushing a new agenda because they got a lot of the we'll call it the woke ideology going through their content, right? And
Mhm.
it's hard to get away from it. Never mind watching the movies, but people talking about it, and it just makes me think how yeah um each generation has a different feeling and influence through their Disney experience. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, which is interesting, and we're just picking on Disney. Every corporation does it, I'm sure. Never mind just movie and media, like even stuff like Nike and stuff. Look at like how what they promoted back in the day to what they promote now. And at the same time they're still saying buy our shoes. All they're saying is buy our
Mm.
shoes, but attached to it used to be attached to like go out there, you could achieve anything, and now it's just like you're powerful just the way you are. But imagine if you wore these shoes. uh the
Yeah,
times.
always looking for the angle.
Looking for the angle. There it is. Yeah.
I mean, someone's got to do it though. I mean, someone's got to play one side so that we can discover the other side.
Yeah, there's truth
Like
to that.
someone needs to perpetuate some kind of a manipulative, deceitful strategy so that we can learn how to be privy to it and gain understanding because of it to then rise above it.
That's right. It actually in a lot of ways it now we're just in a way we're justifying thing trying to find our or trying to find a reason for it, but it's interesting how like through people manipulating and trying to take advantage, it actually is making us smarter because we become privy to it, and it's just like fool me once type mentality, right? And if you keep getting fooled by the same thing over and over again, well then that's just on you. It's a choice, right? There's a episode of Sunny that is I find hilarious where Mac he's like I'm playing both sides that way I always come out on top. And it's like that's truth right there. Yeah, but of course in this episode he's doing it all wrong because he's going around giving away the information before getting what he wants. So they're like, well,
Mm.
you already told us what we need to hear, so why would we do anything for you?
Mm-hmm.
Which is also true. It's funny. But finding the angle, that's an interesting topic to segue into because look at even your stories. You're finding the angle to get these young maidens' attention.
Whew, well, I can expand on that one massively because I did that a lot in elementary simply to try and win an outcome.
Mm.
The idea was to win the heart, win the affection of Maid Marian,
Ah,
because then that makes you the hero of the story.
right? Yeah.
And so I went through also in high school with that same mentality. But yeah, I would always go after the prettiest girl in the school, and I wasn't the most popular boy in the school. So that usually doesn't work out very well for the non super popular boy.
Mm.
And so I kept on getting rejected over and over and over and over again. That became then amplified in my 20s when I was able to kind of grow into myself a little bit more when it comes to attractiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became a late bloomer. And then it became worse, where I was trying to seek validation through as many romantic experiences as I could get, even though I
Mm.
had no desire in actually staying in the relationship. It would average out for maybe like 6 months or so with the justification of, well, I got to give her a chance. I mean, she might be the one. But in my
Uh-huh.
mind, I'm like, I already know I'm just going to bounce.
Oh, wow.
But it was all in the guise of trying to fill a lonely void and feeling as though that I need to have some kind of a romantic element in my life. Otherwise, I'm not going to be happy. So
Man.
there's two false assumptions that were being acted upon. One, me needing validation to feel like, I'm a worthy suitor. And two, in order to feel happiness, I need romance in my life. Two
Yeah.
very false statements that I didn't know were false at the time. I thought they were true.
Yeah.
But going through all that I went through after enough heartbreak, both me causing it and experiencing it myself, finally I was able to be led into the truth of both of those assumptions are actually completely incorrect.
Mm.
And thus I was able to receive a higher understanding. And what came with that is a much greater quality of life when it comes to my emotional faculties,
Right.
my stability of my attitude, and my overall emotional state during the day. So, with the gain of understanding comes a lot of treasure to be experienced because it's got compounding dividends that pay out for the rest of eternity.
Mm.
So, gaining understanding, it's a very, very valuable thing.
It is.
And sometimes, got to go through the trenches to finally be humble enough to receive the correction. But like water, we eventually find our true level.
That's right. Well, that which takes us back to is just if you become privy to the manipulation, and the manipulation isn't always happening on the outside, it also is happening in here. Sometimes you're trying to, like you said, you're looking for those outcomes. You're trying to force these outcomes, but why are you doing that? Because you have this
Mm.
preconceived notion instead of just experiencing the moment for what it is. So you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to make every moment about what you want instead of about what it can be.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
And
then
no, please.
we would need some kind of an approach that is fundamentally sound, that predisposes us into coming into a correct interpretation as to what this truly is, as opposed to what we think we want it to be.
Yeah. Well, and that's where God plays such a huge role. What was that?
That was the
Ah,
light.
the light. It was God. It was the light. Because the scripture says that you have to, like, it's like God has a path for you. Why are you trying to forge your own when God already has the perfect path for you?
Hmm.
And that's a beautiful one to always fall back on, and I find myself falling back on that a lot. Whenever something's not going my way how I want it, I'm always like, it's because it's not my path. It's like I'm trying to forge my own path instead of just going along with God's plan. And so I try my best to fall back in and like get out of my ego and be like, okay, all right, God, you take this one. Sorry I grabbed the wheel there. I thought we were swerving.
Interesting. That reminds me of a dream that I might have already told you, but I'll quickly say it just again, just in case. I'm in the back seat of a car in a dream,
Hmm.
There's no one in the front seat. There's no one in the driver's seat, but this car is driving down the highway. And it's driving, it's doing a good job. It's going nice and straight. But we're on highway number one,
Hmm.
just on in Langley, going up to the Portman there. And suddenly I start to panic. I'm like, there's no one driving this thing. So frantically, I reach over and I reach ahead and grab the steering wheel. At which point, the road turns into these massive, like almost like fruit roll up, like kind of oscillations, and
Yeah.
everything's out of control and chaos now. But everything was fine until I became frantic, panicked, and had to take control myself.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Yeah.
So, okay, I mean, here's an idea.
Mm.
Let's run with that concept for a second that there's a track. There's a perfect sequence of events that if you are able to stay in the will of God the entire time, you will experience your path unto life. And it's unique to you. It fulfills your entire purpose. It gives you everything you need in every single way for every single moment. And you are raised to honor the entire time where your circumstances continually get better and better and better because you're always in his will, which
Hmm.
means you would always be in a state of humility. You'd always be in a state of thankfulness. And you would always be giving all the credit to him. So since your character is perfect in the situation, your circumstances reflect that as well. But there would also be challenges. So, but in those challenges, you conduct yourself in such a perfect way that they become investment opportunities where you receive even more as you pass them with his faith. So it's a life where everything just keeps on getting better. But that's not what we typically experience
No, never.
because we start off with a very imperfect character. We have elements of goodness and from the get-go, like
Yeah.
there's an element of love, there's an element of wanting goodness for others, sharing toys and whatnot, maybe less prominent for others, who knows, but
Hmm.
there's a staple. However, we're learning how to conduct ourselves as a good human. And
Yeah.
so that causes oscillations back and forth on this perfect track, like we were talking about before,
Yeah.
that takes us all the way there. But my question becomes, okay, if there is a track and I'm just kind of swerving all over the place around the track as I progress, is there some kind of an approach where I can instantly set my heading to get back on track in the most efficient means possible? The minimal action required to get effortlessly back on track, or not effortlessly, but the least friction, the path of least resistance kind of a thing, to get right back on track that puts me exactly where he would want me to be. So I receive everything that he wants me to receive so that he can live through me and experience all the things that he wants to experience through me as I experience life with him. Because there's no better place than that.
No.
That's living in the fruits of the Spirit. That's living in joy, peace, goodness, kindness, liberation, coherence, strength.
Well, that brings me back to what you said about just close your eyes, see yourself smiling, and you smile. Bringing yourself back to that when things get stressful or out of hand, where you feel like the world is a weight that you could not bear to hold, realize that that's exactly it. It's not yours to bear, it's not yours to hold, and you can let it go because you
Mm.
know that He will carry it for you because He's always there to carry it for you. When you choose to carry it, you're and that's carrying the suffering, carrying the self-inflicted wounds. You're carrying that of your own volition. And I know this may be I don't know if this segue I don't know why, but like I want to segue into something you back to what you said. You said about we all start as this character, right? We're already this imperfect character, and I this is what crossed my mind when you said that because I find this part fascinating. Everyone grows up with these different um, ideas of who are as individuals, plus all the opinions of what everyone else thinks of us. And if you think about it, what's crazy is how much we only can control, and even then it's a control that is fleeting, our own response to things. Because someone could grow up with their parents saying, "You are the best thing ever. We love you so much. You're gonna like change the world. You're gonna become everything." And two, and I'm just being paraphrasing with it, but there could be two options that come from that. That kid can grow up hearing all this accolation and love and great response towards him, and he could be like, "Yes, I am these things. I am definitely these things." And from there, it can split off into two things where it's just like he could become a egotistical bastard where he thinks he's like the best thing since sliced bread. Or he could be like, yeah, I'm meant for good and take it in the right direction. But the opposite of both of like those are the two that can come out of the one response of thinking like, yeah, I am these things. But the other response that could come out of that is actually they're like, oh, you're the best. You're such a wonderful child. You're like gonna be like the best thing the world ever had. And the kid can go, do I have to live up to that? How do I live up to that? What do I have to do? And now they live one of two lives. One where they're constantly people pleasing, thinking they need to be this perfect thing, and if they're not, they're going to disappoint everyone around them and like fall out of the graces. Or it could become one of resentment because whenever they don't achieve these heights that they think they're going to achieve, they're like, why are you lying to me? And they think their whole existence is a lie.
Mm.
It's so fascinating that even from good intent, it can ruin someone individually, or it could make them better, or it could make them like it's like the indifference of everything, the impact of every word of every expression, if you allow it to be impactful, is so catastrophically just influential. The amount of
Mm.
influence that it can take place, and from good intention. And that's I think that's where kind of the term it's like the road to hell is paved with good intention. I think that's kind of where that comes from. It's not always about the fact of someone's trying to. It doesn't always have to be about harm because it's not like the parents are going. Here's the thing though, it can actually work in reverse where it's just like the parents could be just bad parents and we're just using parent to kid as the example, right? It could be friends, it could be anything, but they're like, yeah, it's just like, oh, you're always such a disappointment. And that kid can have one of two responses. One, I'm going to prove you wrong. I can't wait till I move out of here so I can start my life and become everything that you wish you could be and I'll prove you wrong. And two things can come from that. They can go live successfully and even come back to their parents one day and be like, I'm happy to say that you were wrong and like I forgive you and because it also still inspired me. Or it could be the other one where they're still successful, but they go, yeah, I'll never talk to you again because I don't need you because I have this. Or it could be, again, the other branch where they believe them and they live their entire life thinking that they're worthless and meaningless and no one could ever love them or ever want them. And that can branch into two things, one of absolute depression and another one of just never taking opportunities or risks because they think that it'll never be worth it.
Mm.
Again, just the endless possibilities through influence of nature and nurture. And yet all of them are still it's because man, we're such multifaceted creatures that just it if we go on, and I guess you could split all the different options into it's just like, well, there's an emotional response, there's a mental response, there's a spiritual response, there's the three. And actually here's the I keep sidetracking, but I find this one fascinating and I don't want to forget. So the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, right? The Father light, the Son is the word, so it is sound, and the Holy Spirit vibration. Holy Trinity. And that's what we are. We are light and sound vibrations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's where I'll stop
Yeah.
for now, because I feel like I was going on a nice little ramble.
Okay. Well, I mean, the one thing that I think would tie all of that together is the tangent that I've been on for the last, I don't know, 24 hours, and that's about understanding. Because, if our parents had an understanding that is truthful in the sense of who we are, what the true purpose of life is, and who God is, then that would dissolve a lot of the good intentioned teachings that were actually destructive,
Yeah.
that actually would bring destruction into our lives. But they didn't know that. They were simply teaching what the culture teaches them. and what they thought would be good to pass on because that's, what they grew up in.
Yeah.
But if a person has a true understanding as to what is fundamentally true about life when it comes to who God is, who we are, and how the world actually works, well, now you're able to operate with the wisdom of Solomon, which is going to yield some very, very beneficial results because it puts you in harmony with, the laws of the universe. And even more powerful is the problem with Solomon's wisdoms is, he had wisdom, but he didn't follow his own wisdom all the time. He was destroyed by women.
Yeah.
Women who were operating with a dark spirit, that spirit was actually trying to destroy him and his very kingdom.
Yep.
And so, sure, he writes about this woman in his Proverbs and everything, but he still fell for it.
Yeah.
However,
well, he could only
we're
write
in
about
a
it because he
time-
fell for it. Because of hindsight.
I wonder which one came first, because the way that he received his wisdom was he came up with an offering after offering after offering after offering, persistence for at least 40 days, I think it was. And then finally he heard from who he believed God to be, and he was gifted incredible wisdom that allowed him to be a huge force when it comes to the economy and how to run a kingdom. And so it's kind of like he got it all at once, and then he wrote it down.
Yeah.
He got scribes to write it down for him if he didn't write it himself.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, I know what it's like to have an understanding, to have a head knowledge, understanding of a concept, and then find myself contradicting it completely in my actions, and then feeling the detriments of it. So, I mean, at the same time, just because we have an understanding doesn't mean it's integrated to a level that we're actually going to act on it. That takes a whole nother force. And thankfully, the way that I see it, that force is something that is gifted to us through inheritance. What if I told you, okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the air comes under the wings. This is what matters.
Let's get a little mud on those tires.
Hot dog. KG3. What if I
LA5.
told you that every second you are inheriting the entire universe, a little drop at a time?
Well, that seems... I would believe it, because I do believe we're all fractal. We're just we're a piece of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, that's beautiful. I would love for you to expound on it.
Okay, so here's the idea. We are being transfigured. Scripture says that we are being transformed from glory to glory into the perfect image and likeness of Christ, and all of it is predestined. We are predestined to take on his image and likeness, and it comes from the Lord who is Spirit. And Spirit is all-encompassing. And it is something that is happening on a level that's beyond our cognition. For example, our attention is only aware of 0.0004% of what is actually taking place on an overall level. I don't mean like we only see 0.0004% of stuff around us. We see the vast, vast majority of everything we need to see. It's pretty good with a few blind spots here and there. But to understand the scope of what is actually happening and how it's happening, we barely get a sliver of understanding. 99.99996% we're completely oblivious to. But in that 99.9996%, that is where the work is actually taking place. That's the spirit realm that we're unaware of. But in that space, we are being transformed on a subconscious level. And it cannot be stopped because every little detail of our experience is being used to transform us into that very likeness and character of Christ. We need it all. We need all of the hard times. We need the trials, the struggles, the faith tests. We need the validations of how much God loves us, how much he protects us, how much he constantly wants to bless us and favor us. We need all of it put together that is then used as an incubation chamber where, just like a stem cell, We are transforming because of our environment, our subconscious environment. We're not aware of it, but it is happening in every second. And we're not aware of it, just like we're not aware of the fact that every second, 3.8 million cells are being generated in our body. I'm not aware of that, but it's still happening on a
Yeah.
fundamental level. We are transforming and we are becoming more like Christ in every second. And in that transfer, we become all that he is and all that he has. And he has everything. He doesn't just have the universe. He has all of the dimensions and realms that are connected to the universe. We inherit everything, all that he is and all that he has, but it takes at least one lifetime to be able to go through all the experiences that we need to go through without knowing what we need to go through in order to have that transformation take shape. But it's
And
happening and it's guaranteed.
here's
You
an
can't even
interesting
stop
one.
it.
Here's an interesting one to go off that, because it's slightly, I don't want to say, I don't think it's a contradiction of what I said earlier, but so when we veer from the path and we think we know better, and we're making those choices, and sometimes in those choices within our own line of thinking or within what we were desiring, sometimes we succeed and we think, oh, I can do this on my own, right? And then there's times where we fail, and we either curse God and say, oh, why'd you let me fail? Or you go, you got me. I shouldn't have veered off the path. Even in every one of those moments, do you think that's still actually a part of the plan? It's actually,
It
even
was
when you veer, it's still a part of the plan. God expects you to do so. He almost needs you to do so because it gives you the perspective or a new understanding that allows for a growth to take place.
exactly. It wasn't what he had authored, but he knew that it was going to happen. So then the redirection to get back on track was then authored.
Yeah.
It's a chess piece, move for move situation. So it doesn't matter how much we mess up, he's able to get us back on track again.
Yeah.
And then, but that in that same sense, whatever squiggly line that we end up carving out for ourselves, it was always going to be that way anyway, because we needed to experience what we needed to experience so that we would then be convinced to make the correction.
That's right.
So we author all of our own hardships, all of our own detriments, all of our own downfalls, but he redeems all of it every single time in a way that brings us closer to him. And he uses it as an opportunity to reveal who he truly is. Because could he really demonstrate his grace if we always deserved everything that we received?
Yeah. Well, I can bring it back to when you spoke of Solomon. Because, yeah, Solomon was a man who, like you said, women were his vice. And he made a lot of mistakes when it came to that. Because he was an adulterer and just, like, wasn't able to, like, stay loyal to his wife. And yet, or wives. And yet, God still chose him. God still said, yes, it's like, I know of your sins and your faults, but you are still like I still have chosen you to be the conduit for what needs to be said and done within this kingdom. So yeah, it's just like, and that's a big one that I find interesting. Like the Catholic Church, especially, teaches a lot of kind of like, you're going to hell, like, oh, you sinned, you're going to hell. When in reality, it's just, where do you think that type of mentality almost comes from? Because like it is written in the Bible that there is like a place of brimstone and fire and all that, but it does feel a lot more from there. It doesn't come from a sense of necessarily just sinning. It comes from a place of almost, it's like it's almost sinning without acknowledging it, I guess, is kind of where that comes from, right? Like where it's like you're putting yourself in the fire. It's not because God's putting you there, it's because you've put yourself there.
Mm,
And that's where even like at that word Jesus spoke, it's just like uh, it's like I will forgive you for your sins if you ask for it. And I think that's just where the aspect of hell is, where when it's spouted through the churches, doesn't just have to be Catholic, but a lot of them speak of, like, it's like, oh yeah, it's just like, if you've done these things, it's almost irredeemable, even if you ask for forgiveness. And I don't think that's true.
Well, it's 100% not true, scripturally speaking, even. Because in Colossians, it is very clear that once Jesus went into spirit form and he went into the heart of the earth, so the very energetic center where all the information starts and is stored and is generated, he went into the heart of the operating system and he nullified and wiped clean every single sin that mankind has ever made. There isn't a single account of any sin whatsoever. He deleted it all, and it cannot be retrieved, is what it says in Colossians. So sin is already dealt with. Mm-hmm. And also scripture says that we are made right with God through faith. So the only thing that the principalities of the air can do is convince us that we're not made right with God, and that we are guilty, and that we should carry condemnation and shame, even though it's not true. But if they convince us that it is true, now our soul goes into a hellish state because we feel guilty.
Right.
But scripturally speaking, sin has been dealt with.
Yeah.
And it can't be retrieved. Not to mention, it's the Holy Spirit that takes us out of that anyway. And it's also very clear that we are gifted salvation. It is not something that is earned.
Right.
Throughout the coming ages, we will be the open demonstration of his grace and kindness. Nothing that we've ever done could earn this type of salvation, because it was a love gift that was given to us through Christ so that no man could boast. That was the point.
Right.
It was a gift so that no one can say, I figured it out and you didn't, so you need to suffer. The whole point is that the only reason that anyone gets it is because it was gifted to them, and there wasn't a single thing that they did or said on their own accord that earned them anything in the department of grace and salvation.
I can't believe that I'm going to wrap this all the way back around to the start of the conversation, and if that isn't what Halloween is, it doesn't matter who you dress up as or what your life was before or after. The second you go ding dong, trick or treat, everyone gets a piece.
That's kind of like a parable of the kingdom, where everyone gets the same reward.
Yeah, in the
Even
end,
if you think you deserve more,
yeah,
you get the same reward.
Yeah.
Everyone gets the goodness.
Everyone gets the goodies. Wonderful. Well, how do you feel?
I feel pretty good.
Yeah?
No, that's a good session. I'm going to go over to my grandpa's place and we're going to play a game of cribbage.
Ooh, very nice. Well, best of luck. Have fun. Say hello to the fam, and Godspeed, my friend.
KG3. Godspeed.
LA5. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.